Carroll's putting up some big numbers, and this guy solidifying himself really as a superstar player. So I don't see Corbin Carroll slowing down. I think that's the big factor here, because if he was a fringe player and a guy that we were like, he's got a good shot here, he's having some decent numbers, Corbin Carroll to me is a superstar player. So for Elly De La Ctuz to catch him, he would have to put up just superb, incredible numbers in the second half to catch Corbin Carroll. Chris Young has done a great job right there with that team. Just going out and getting Evaldi, getting John Gray, Martin Perez, Dane Danning has been in there and really pitching well too since DeGrom went out. But Corey Seager's playing at an MVP caliber right now, what he's doing, and Simeon at the top. That lineup, top to bottom, with Young and Nathaniel Lowe and Garcia, these guys are absolute studs. So yes, do I think Texas has a shot to win the West? No doubt about it. They're fully loaded and ready to go, but it's going to be a fight to the end, because I think the Angels are going to be in this mix too when it's all said and done.
Both these teams are not real contenders. There's names that we recognize on the team, but there's a lot of teams that have recognizable names, right? Like, got Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout. They didn't make the playoffs for multiple years in a row. What does a name do for me? Nothing. What we see from like the Reds and the Orioles and the Rays and the Rangers, teams that you look up and down the lineup and you're like, oh my God, every single player is contributing. Everyone's above the Mendoza line.
Yep.
They're actually closer to 250 than they are under 200. And then you look at teams like the Mets and the Yankees and you're like, wow, there's only 3 players on this team batting over 200 right now. That's just kind of like, that's it. That's the math school. That's the reason that you stink. I think I would take the over. Victor has gone on record and said, I'm going to try to play every single San Antonio Spurs game that I can. He has decided to opt out of FIBA. He is now going to play all the games for the Spurs in the Summer League. It's 4 games. Who cares? Probably the playoff games if they end up going there, but it's 4 games. And then you've got him preparing for France Olympics, which I think is going to be electric as well. So he's going to play. He doesn't want to be held back. He doesn't want any load management. So I like the over. I like the plus money, plus 115.
Now, the other thing here is a lot of these are expected, all right? Expected or to make the rookie first team.
This is a fascinating list.
And this is why it's because at the beginning, there's no value in some of these. Wembanyama's minus, 10,000? Okay. This is all rookie first team. Scoot's minus 800. Chet Holmgren's minus 700. Brandon Miller's minus 600. Both Thompson's minus 300 and 200 for Amen and Asar. And then you get into like the guys where there's going to be 1 or 2 rookies that stands out that it's not necessarily that you didn't expect. They're just not the ones that are in the big conversation and the brightest spotlight.
And this is rookie first team.
Rookie first team. So this is where you got to kind of dig and think, okay, who's in a great position on a team where they're going to get a lot of minutes, a lot of time. You don't have to be on a winning team. And then that's an opportunity for them to put up big enough numbers, because that's really what it comes down to is the numbers. And then they can be an all rookie first teamer.
Man, there's some good ones in here. I think there's one that's interesting to me is Anthony Black at plus 200. If Scoot isn't playing that much and he's only getting 15 minutes a game because Dame hasn't gone, Anthony Black is going to look really good. Josh Giddey put up interesting numbers when he was a rookie. He was really fun. I thought that Josh Giddey made first team all rookie, didn't he?
I'm pretty sure he did, yeah.
Yeah, let me see.
Yeah, because he was racking up triple doubles his rookie year.
Yeah,
because I remember that the conversation around him was he's one of the few. He was not.
He was not. He was.
Was he second team?
I think he was.
Okay.
Yeah, but he was not first team all rookie.
But he came on at the end of the year where there was conversation about him being a first teamer, is what it was.
He was really good though. Yeah, maybe that's the same situation. This is a tough bet. I really think there's some interesting ones here.
It'd make them a lot more dangerous, wouldn't it? Like, Fred VanVleet is a great floor general, steady guy. Brooks helps them because for all of his issues, he is an elite defender on the ball. And, man, you could put 5 traffic cones out there last year, and it would have been more defensive than Houston half the time. So, I think that those 2 guys make them competitive. Again, competitive in the West gets them high play-in, low playoffs, kind of depending on who's healthy and how much Jalen Green grows. And Hey, the other big question: do you guys believe in Jabari Smith? Does he make a leap?
I think he could.
Could.
Culture. Culture, Kurt.
Maybe get a few more shots in there. Jalen Green not taking them all. And Kevin Porter.
Number one is the domino's already dropped, baby. The domino has begun, and now what comes next? We had Kurt Helin on from NBC Sports. He referenced it a little bit, and the low-key move was Naz Reid. Naz Reid went back to the Timberwolves, Ashu, 3 years, $42 million. I will forgive casual fans if they don't know who Naz Reid is, but there were about 15 teams that were out there being like, yeah, Naz Reid would be a really good center for us. Sacramento was thinking that. Portland was thinking that. There were a lot of teams that needed. Dallas was thinking that. Rim protecting needing teams. So, but they already have a couple of rim protectors, don't they, Ashu? You've got Rudy Gobert, and you've got Karl Anthony Towns, and now you've got Naz Reid sticking around. So, why would they do that? That's the question. Let's do a little math school for you. The Wolves have $91 million tied up in the center position, the same position that most teams don't even have one traditional center. The Wolves have 3. So I believe, given all of that, that means that Karl Anthony Towns is for sure getting traded. They're not trading Rudy Gobert. They've already traded a boatload of assets and young players to get him. They're not going to move off of that rock anytime soon. The Timberwolves, we know that they're not winning like in any real level with Karl Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert, and Naz Reid. We know that. The Timberwolves have appeared in exactly 3 playoff series in his entire 8-year career. He has been largely neutralized in those series. I know he was pretty good in the Memphis series, but outside of that, he's largely in foul trouble, can't keep his emotions in check. And more importantly, in today's CBA and in today's NBA, his super max extension carries through with the Wolves till 2027, 2028. He has 2 All-NBA third-team nods in 8 seasons, and he's owed $256 million over the next 5 years.
That's a whole lot.
Woo, woo. It looks like Silver Surfer, the Herald of Galactus, and the MCU, change is a-coming. And I think that ends up with Karl Anthony Towns in some place like New York or Golden State or maybe Dallas. Up next, the second low-key free agent move. Dillon Brooks, baby. After being jettisoned from the Memphis Grizzlies, the Memphis Grizzlies, as we know, put out an official statement 2 seconds after they got eliminated that said, we are not bringing back Dillon Brooks under any circumstances. And now you've got Marcus Smart coming in to replace one part Dillon Brooks, replace one part Tyus Jones, and now we know for sure he's going on the move. John Hollinger at The Athletic said that Brooks is one of the more interesting free agents for any team with cap space and defensive issues. I don't know, a team like Houston could use him. Dallas was at one time plus 300 to sign Dillon Brooks. There are a lot of reasons to look at him because he's a second-team all-defensive player. That's just what it is. He's just really good at that. B-Ball Index has Dillon Brooks in the 94th percentile in defensive position versatility. So he can switch 1 through 5. He's not a great shooter, but he's a defender who you could really use. A lot of people thought he was going to get the mid-level exception at around $12 million. Now it looks like he might get $20 million. Jake Fisher, friend of show, reported that Brooks might sign a 4-year, $60 million deal. So what? Like 15, 17 million? So Brooks as a Rocket, I think that would mean no way that Harden returns. I think that is great for Ime Udoka. I think that helps him. I think that helps him from a locker room perspective and from a defensive standpoint. And we know that if he can stop chucking threes and he can take better shots, he can be a very valuable piece on a team that's looking to rebuild. And then number 3, the third most low-key free agent that nobody's quite talking about because it's will he, won't he, will he request, will he not request? Dame Lillard and Jeremy Grant are about as peas and carrots in terms of free agency as it gets. So Jeremy Grant all set to re-sign with Portland. And then the Dame drama comes in and rolls in like the Kraken. And now we don't know. It has everything to do whether Grant is going to stick around on a team with Dame or maybe not. As I said, the signing is very interesting because Detroit is rumored to want him back. He has a really good relationship with GM Troy Weaver. It's a fresh new system. There's a lot more talent on this team than there was the last time he was there in Detroit. He was kind of the man there, but there was no other infrastructure around him. So he ends up trying to play with Dame. The Pacers could be another really interesting fit. They need defensive versatility as well. You pair him with Jarris Walker. You pair him with Miles Turner. And now you are cooking with gas with Tyrese Halliburton and Chucker Buddy Hield and Chris Duarte. Oh, my God. Jeremy Grant plays 3-4 until Jarris Walker is a starter. And all of a sudden, Rick Carlisle, that's his man. Rick Carlisle loved Harrison Barnes. So it's either Jeremy Grant or Harrison Barnes in terms of who's going to take that spot in the lineup. The money, of course, is going to be tricky because Portland can offer him 5 years, $233 million. That is absurd. That's $46 million a year. No chance that's happening. He'll probably get like 4 years, $120 million.
Oh, darn.
But I think that there are a lot of teams that are going to want him. Sacramento's another one as well, that he could slot right in and take them to a whole new level. So that's the big three. Well, I guess it's like the low-key three today. With free agency just a few days away, we have a lot to cover between now and then. But that's going to be a very interesting thing to watch moving forward.
Brock Purdy is going to be the starter of this team. Brock Purdy is going to win it. Brock Purdy showed that he can be a great quarterback in the NFL. I get that it was only 7 games before. We don't count the last one. He was 7-0 as a starter before his arm decided it couldn't work anymore. So we're not going to really throw that loss against him. Also, wins and losses for quarterbacks, kind of a lazy stat. Whole other conversation. But the versatile weapons that the San Francisco 49ers have has shown that Kyle Shanahan, as brilliant, and we talk about how great Andy Reid is as an offensive mind, Kyle Shanahan's right there. Kyle Shanahan is as creative and is smart and understands how to absolutely tailor plays, not just the entire offense, but individual plays to great players and their unique talents. Brandon Ayuk was already their leading receiver. Apparently, he's looked great in all the offseason workouts, like take that next level type of great. You know, when you kind of see that from guys when like there's these moments and then they have that offseason and then it's like 1,500 yards receiving and 10 touchdowns. I'm not saying he's going to do that. That's not how this offense works. But was already leading receiver for them. Then you're throwing in Deebo Samuel and what he can do. Remember for a while we thought he was going to go to the Jets?
Yeah.
And thought Deebo was going to get traded, didn't want to be a running back anymore. Hey, did anything change? No.
Nope.
Nothing really changed.
Nope.
Deebo Samuel is still doing the same amazing things that he does, but then they've added Christian McCaffrey. You have that in the mix. Elijah Mitchell will be back and healthy. There's that George Kittle guy. I don't know if you guys remember him. Really, really good tight end, too.